Hey guys, gals, and MBs. I'm going to do some patches on the TEO-5, and I hope you will join me for the journey on making them. This is kind of to give you an idea of what the TEO-5 can do, and yeah, give you some inspiration to use it if you have one, or maybe you're on the fence about getting one. But yeah, let's make the first patch I'm going to make is going to be an emulation of a Guzheng, which is a Chinese zither. It's very similar to a koto. I think it's tuned differently. The nice thing is the standard tuning is almost a Western major pentatonic scale, so it's kind of easy to play on a Western instrument. But yeah, let's just get into it. We're going to make an init patch, and this might have some tricks that you don't know about on the TEO-5, and to some lesser extent the Take 5. But one of the big shortcuts I love is you hold down octave here, octave down, and -2 on the low split, and you get an init patch. All right, and this patch is going to use the through 0 FM. We're going to use a triangle wave, so let's do that. We're only going to use one oscillator, and the first thing we want to do is tune the first oscillator to C+3. So we're going to go up 2 octaves from the initial root octave. So yeah, go up to C+3. And we're going to bring down the octave here. This is just the tuning ratio. I'm pretty sure I could have figured out the tuning ratio a little better, but this is the tuning ratio I'm going to use. We're going down 2 octaves to make it a little lower here, but you'll hear what I mean in a minute. And then for frequency 2, we want to go to F+1. So we want to go up to F+1. So like that. You're not going to hear anything because we haven't engaged X mod yet. And let's go ahead and engage some X mod. There we go. That's kind of what we want. And I should mention that you should have your synth tuned, so make sure you calibrate it. Calibrate it at different temperature intervals before this patch will sound correct. We're not using oscillator sync, so you're kind of at the mercy of the oscillator tuning stability, which adds some character to it, because obviously we could sync it. And when you sync it, it takes away some of the harmonics, and it doesn't just sound right, at least in my opinion. All right, and now what we're going to do is we're going to shape the amp envelope and filter, but we're going to use them together because this doesn't really require a separate amp envelope from the filter envelope. So to do that, we want to click this button here, and that engages the envelope. One now becomes an aux envelope. It doesn't control the cutoff directly. I mean, you could do it again. You could make this be in aux mode and then still do cutoff. But that doesn't matter because now envelope 2 is doing filter and amp. So yeah, so what we want to do here is turn down the cutoff all the way. You're not going to hear a difference yet because we haven't shaped it yet. If we go back to the original filter envelope, now that the cutoff's down, you won't hear anything. But yeah, so what you want to do is make sure your attack is down. You want to turn your decay up to around here. And we want to turn sustain all the way down. And now we want to give it a lot of release. And there's the magic. That's really all that there is to this patch. You're going to want to tweak a lot of things on it. We're going to add some more stuff to it. So don't worry, we're not done. Now, one of the other things I like to do with this patch particularly is you go into the program menu here and make sure the voice volume is set to about 110. That's 110, now at 100. It just, it drives the filter a little more in my opinion. And as you can hear there, I'm just using a major pentatonic scale, C. And it obviously sounds right because that's one of the tunings of the instrument. So Yeah, so let's add a little more stuff to it. The other thing that we can do to make it a little more subtle is add velocity. The first thing you want to do, though, is go into your global menu into 11, and you want to change your velocity curve. I mean, you could turn, by default, your velocity curve is a 1. It just takes a lot of effort to place. Unfortunately, you can't press the damn velocity button if you're in the global menu. I don't think any of the controls work, but okay. Velocity is on. This is the default velocity curve. Right? You really have to... I like it to be a little less like that because I don't want to have to press super hard, but I still want a little bit of subtlety to it. So 3 is really nice. 2 works too. But I like 3. Yeah, and you can kind of articulate those notes. It's really nice. So let's go out of the global menu. We're all good to go now, at least on that point. And let's do a little more shaping, I guess. We could, we're going to add some voice spread. Again, I always complain about this on the TEO-5 and the Take 5 as well, is that there's no shortcut to pan spreading, but you just go into your mod matrix. Source is pan or voice spread. And then we want to find panning as the destination. All right. So, I mean, I should open up a ticket with them to see if they take feature requests. I don't think they do, but I stated in the forums, we're going to turn this up to 100, by the way, that there should be a shortcut to voice spread panning because it's such a unique, it's a very unique feature for a lot of analog synths these days, which is really funny, but I guess cheaper analog synths aren't really stereo. I mean, the Minilog. The Minilog XD is technically not a the voices do not have a stereo VCA in them. So, I mean, it has stereo output. That's because the effects do that. But yeah. All right. Anyway, my ranting on that's over. All right. That's gorgeous with the pan spread, isn't it? All right, one word of caution with this, especially if you're not syncing the oscillator. Okay, let's sync the oscillator since we kind of got it going with the correct envelope, and you'll hear it doesn't have the same twang to it that it's supposed to for the instrument in question. But yeah, all right. Now, the issue with that, though, is if we go above octave 0, it really falls apart on the higher notes. Now, it's going to totally... Yeah. So, that's the caveat. This is something you play low. It's probably because we have our initial oscillator frequency so high up already. I mean, if you have sync enabled, it holds together, so yeah. More of a Celesta than it is anything else at that point when it's that high up. But yeah, all right, so let's make sure we turn off sync, and then we're back. Perfect. All right, so let's add some effects to it. We're going to add the BBD delay, so let's make sure this is set to BBD down here. Let's get out of the program menu, or the mod matrix. So we're in BBD mode. Another thing I wish is that knobs told you what parameter values they're at when you turn them. This is probably one of the nicest looking OLED screens on a synth. It's small, yeah, but it's super high res. I mean, it looks really nice and it's super bright. Tell us what we're setting. Even time divisions. Time divisions aren't shown on the display from the effects section. They are on other sections, but I just don't understand. So, yeah, we want to turn it to taste. I like it around there. We're in the BBD. Depth, let's go noon, and then feedback right around there. Gorgeous. I love it. All right, let's add some reverb. We should add some reverb. So the reverb isn't bad. It's grown on me. The reverb on this and the Take 5, they're very similar. They sound nice. They sound nice enough to use. I mean, I would still rather use an external reverb, but people always just jump on me in the comments saying, well, you have built-in effects. They're so good. They're not. The delay is great, but the reverb's not that great. So we want to make it around there on the mix level. We want to turn the size all the way up. No pre-delay, and we want the decay right around here. We already have. I kind of already had this set in advance. I was practicing making this patch, so. The reverb lacks modulation, and if you modulate the pre-delay in it doesn't sound all that great to me. Using an LFO, I mean. Maybe that should be a feature request. Come on, add a LFO just for the reverb. I don't know. The processor should be able to handle that, I would think. Yeah, so that's the basic idea of that patch. Pretty easy to make, really fun. It sounds really nice. You can change the let's go back down. You can mess with the X mod. Sweet Salad Bot is around there. Too much, and it's obviously, and then we're getting into atonal territory. This isn't a modular synth. You can make real music with it. It's a joke. Pretty sure somebody's gonna rant about that. I'm kidding about that. But yeah, that said, that's just nice. Yeah. So that is a Chinese style zither patch. So really cool. It's a little different than a Kodo. Obviously, it has a little bit more twanginess to it. But same basic concept. You can use that as like a jumping off point to what you want to do and things like that. All right, let's do something fun and let's explore polymod. I brought this up multiple times in my peak video last time. I brought up that you can use the LFO on that since it is a polyphonic LFO to do the similar thing, but we're going to do it on the TEO-5. We're going to make my cascading flutes patch. So let's make a init patch. Actually, let's go to something I don't care about, just in case I accidentally press write. I don't want to overwrite that patch on you. All right, and to do this, all we want is a triangle again. All right, and let's give it a little attack. And some release. Sustain is down a little bit by default. So let's turn up the sustain. Actually, no, let's turn it down. So when we get the decay to come in, we're going to have a little bit of decay. It'll plateau a little. All right, pretty cool. Sorry about that. All right, we want to bring down the cutoff just a little. Like that. Because what we're going to do is we're going to assign the poly LFO to it. So to do that, it's super simple. I love the mod matrix in this. It's so easy to use. Hold destination. We're going to do cutoff. And that's pretty much all we got to do there. And let's add some, we can use the amount knob here. All right. Bring down the speed a little. Because what we're going to do is the higher note you go, the faster it's going to be in a second. We're kind of just getting the basic amount we need. You can mess with the filter a little. Let's go ahead and turn up the voice volume as well. We can turn up the voice volume quite high on this one if we wanted to. Like 120 is okay. Maybe that's a little too loud. Let's do 115. I don't hear any distortion. We're good. Let's take it down just a hair. Yeah, that's good. All right, and the next thing we want to do is track the keyboard to the speed of the LFO. And that's pretty easy. Hold down source here on your mod matrix, and then keep pressing a note until you see that go to note number. And you want to now do destination and hold the destination and control your frequency here, LFO to frequency. And then we want to turn this up to taste. So let's just go to the highest note we're going to play. I'm going to do this one. That's the least, yeah, that's probably the highest note I'm ever going to want to play. Yeah. So, and then we want to turn it up as fast as we ever want it to go, if that makes sense. So now if you play a lower note, it's slower. And that's pretty much that whole patch. So easy. As long as you have a way to track your LFO speed to your keybed value, and you have a way to have an individual LFO per voice, this patch works on any synth. You don't have to use a triangle for the flute. You can use a square. Square works sometimes, depending on how the square sounds. The triangle on this sounds very fluty, so. The other thing we can do here, so we can go in, I don't know if this matters all that much on this synth in particular. You got to make sure that your LFO is not going to key sync on some synths, but this one, it doesn't seem to matter. I don't remember where it is. It's somewhere up here. It's like LFO retrig. That's slew. Slew's nice. There it is. Note reset. Yeah, that should make a free running LFO. Doesn't matter all that much, but it kind of helps. I mean, let's hear it on and off. Off. Oh, it can potentially take a little bit of the click out when it resets the LFO, I guess. That's fine. We'll just keep it off. That's cool. All right, let's go ahead and go into an empty mod slot and add some voice spread to this. To panning, of course. The only thing it's really useful for. Sure, it has some other uses. I haven't found them. See, I'm always like bumbling around the menu trying to find the damn. Where is it? No, we want over. There we go. And we want to turn that to 100. I like 100. Make sure that when you have a patch that has voice spread enabled for panning, that you actually use stereo out. One thing that this synth does not do is it doesn't seem to have a switch in the right output jack, so it doesn't automatically put everything to mono if you have a patch with voice spread enabled. Yeah, so just be aware of that. So if your voice spread enabled and your patch sounds weird and you're only doing mono out, that might be the reason. I think there's a way in the global menu to force mono out, but yeah, they didn't bother putting a switch in the jack to tell if you had a right jack plugged in or not. Anyway, voice spreads on. All right. And now let's add a bit of delay to that. Obviously the BBD. We're going to use the same settings we used before. We're already there, so I'm going to wiggle the knob so it captures the values. And here's just with the delay. Maybe a little less feedback. Turn down the frequency a little too. All right, let's add some reverb. So we're going to go capture the same value we had there for that by moving the knob so the microcontroller picks up on our changes. And let's do that. And that patch you can make, pretty much the exact same way on the TEO-5 as well. You have to tweak the values a little. The filter is a little different because of the slope, but I mean, it sounds pretty gorgeous. I haven't figured out the exact values to pitch shift the LFO exactly a fifth on an oscillator. I need to sit down and do that. I was able to do that on the Trigon 6, which I should make a video on the polymod on the Trigon 6. I'll do that sometime soon. But you definitely have to use an external reverb on that thing. The reverb on that thing is garishly ghastly. That's the best way I can put it. It is not usable in the least. The other effects are completely usable, but God, that reverb. Especially compared to this lovely reverb. Yeah, so those are the two patches that I really wanted to show off today. I've been working on kind of like a little prototype patch that's uses the polyphonic LFO on this. I can, I'll give you a little preview. I need to really finalize it. I don't even know what the hell I call it. It's some weird ass string patch that just does weird things. It uses all the oscillators and sync and FM. It's crazy. Listen to this. Actually, it's kind of like almost a harmonica patch. Anyway, when I figure out the best way to keep that from doing the weird stuff that it does every once in a while, then I will share how to make that, if you're interested at least. I mean, this is pretty stable, but I haven't really made any patch notes on it yet. Yeah, and it obviously, because you only have 5 notes of polyphony, it does cut off pretty quick, but yeah, I'll figure stuff out. Anyway, yeah, thanks for watching. I hope this video was at least a little informative to you. Maybe give you some inspiration to mess around with the TEO-5 or the Take-5. Maybe this set you over the edge to actually get a TEO-5. It is definitely one of my favorite analogs. The Take-5 and the TEO-5 kind of fill that niche for me for an analog synth, right? Like a small keyboard-driven analog synth, not a module, because the Trigon 6 is still wonderful, but it is definitely the TEO-5 and Take-5 are one of my favorite analog synths. I kind of group them together. They're very similar. You just have different filters, and obviously I have through 0 FM, so this kind of pushes it over the edge for me of being one of my favorites, like analogs, fully analog. Other than the VCA, I always bring up the VCA, but again, that VCA being digital gives you a lot of routing flexibility you just don't get with an analog VCA. So it doesn't matter. It can distort a little easier, so you got to be a little bit careful when you're driving it from the voice architecture on this thing. But yeah, that said, again, thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed to my channel and you like my content, go ahead and subscribe. And if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time. Bye.